Hi, I'm David Prescott. I'm coming to you from my home office. I've been asked to speak on the topic of talking to kids about sexual abuse. And this is an area of work that I've done now for just short of 34 years. Although after a certain point, I tend to stop counting. When I'm talking to other professionals, I like to make the joke that talking to kids about sexual abuse is actually what made my hair so gray. And so, I guess on a more serious note, let me say a few basic things that I've learned both through practice and through reading just about every research study ever completed. And I'll just take a moment and say, why do I read research so much? The answer is because when I first came online doing this work in 1984, everything I thought I knew has turned out to be wrong, as you're about to hear. So let me just say a few things about the basics. Number one, if you're not already aware, kids who've sexually abused, there's a lot of abuse in our communities. It's an unacceptable amount of abuse. Abuse exists not only in our families, but in our communities and in our neighborhoods. And anybody that reads the news knows that it happens in our schools, on our sports teams, and every place else. It's really serious, and unfortunately, time doesn't allow for me to get into that at any level. So what we know is there's a lot of abuse out there. That's the bad news. The good news is that kids who do abuse actually go on to continue to abuse much less than we ever thought. And in fact, the rates of reoffense, if you will, have gotten lower and lower and lower with each passing year. Research is proving this with big numbers of kids, and researchers around the world are finding this. So the good news is this is happening, and one of the reasons I think that sexual abuse, at least reoffense, has gone down over time, particularly with kids, is that because people like us, parents and professionals, are talking about it a lot more. So I guess, one of the ways that we can prevent abuse is by talking about it with our friends, with our neighbors, with our colleagues, etc. Talking about it is the enemy of silence that allows sexual abuse to continue. Okay. So having said that, the rates are actually going down. This means we all have opportunities for hope and encouragement and optimism. There is simply no question about this. Okay. The next thing to know is that simply trying to punish sexual abuse away doesn't work. So adopting societies around the world have tried to adopt a tough-on-crime approach towards the problem of sexual abuse, and it hasn't worked. What does seem to work are things like treatment and working with the right treatment provider and specialized treatment services. The other thing that works for kids that are involved with the legal system is a supportive probation officer who also is willing to hold kids accountable. So the right mixture of the right relationship, the right goals of treatment and supervision, and the qualities of the right professional. The professional who is warm and empathic and rewarding, but still sticks to the rules. These are the things that seem to help kids grow into being strong and abuse-free adults. So I just wanted to put that out there from the outset. So with that, then, there's a couple of things that I keep coming back to when we do have these conversations with kids. And the first thing that I'm going to say about parents is the role that you have. Parents have the most important role in kids' lives. There's no question about this. Long after professionals like me are out of your lives and have written discharge summaries on the kids that we work with, you are still the parents. Like it or not, you're the kid's parent throughout the rest of their life, even after you pass on. There's a story, a joke that's told about fathers, that there's three phases of fatherhood. The first is that my father is the greatest guy on the planet. The second is that as you get a little bit older, your father's an idiot. And then the third stage of fatherhood is, my father used to say. And this is a sort of a semi-humorous way of saying that the words you say to your kids are going to live on forever in the minds of your kids. Again, long after the professionals in their lives have moved on. So this is one reason why I say one of the most important things to remember is you're the parent. And this means you're the grown-up and they're the kid. And it's important to always remember this kind of mindset of you're the parent and they're the kid. And the reason that I say this is because where I've seen a lot of parents go wrong is by saying things like, I always thought of my kid as more like a friend, more like a partner or a colleague. And I would say when you're having these kinds of conversations, that's exactly the attitude that you don't want to take. Remember that abuse is scary for your kid as well as for you. And so somebody needs to be the grown-up in the room when you're having the conversation. I recommend that it be you. I'm sorry if this comes off the wrong way to some parents. And it may be that you can be an effective parent by being more closer to a friend than a parent. But when you're having conversations about sexual abuse, I recommend always remember you're the parent. And always remember that you're the one that provides nurturing and kindness and guidance. This is your boy. This is your girl. This is your baby. And so I always recommend starting from coming with that mindset that you're the parent, you're the grown-up, and they're the kid. Okay. Beyond that, what I also recommend is before having the conversation, getting into the mindset that you're going to be listening. And what I mean is, I always recommend to parents and to professionals, take a few moments and slow yourself down, slow your breathing down, slow your mind down, and remember that you want to go in with a mindset of you are going to listen until you understand. Many of us know how to listen, but many of us forget that we need to listen with a goal of understanding. In other words, after you've slowed yourself down, remember the goal is to understand and not just listen. Many people start talking before they actually understand. So your job is to listen and to listen with curiosity and to check in with your kid to see, are you understanding what they have to say? And once you understand what they have to say, you'll be in a better position to come together with some kind of plan about how you move forward. The next thing that I would like to say in unpacking all of this is to think with the acronym PACE, P-A-C-E. This comes from something called motivational interviewing, and it is once it's firmly established that you are coming in as the adult and they're the kid, think in terms of partnership, that's the P, acceptance, that's the A, compassion, that's the C, and evocation, that's the E, PACE, P-A-C-E. The sense of partnership is once it's established who's what in the room and that you're the grown-up and they're the kid, then you can develop an attitude of partnership in that you are both now having a conversation where you're both equals. You're the adult, they're the kid, but in terms of your value as human beings, you're both equally valuable human beings. Whether or not they've done something terrible, whether or not you've done something terrible, doesn't matter. For the conversation, you guys are equal value human beings. Okay. The next piece is acceptance. Remember, parents, whatever happens, happens. Whatever has happened, has happened. There's almost nothing you can do to turn back time as much as you want to. And I realize that this can provide you with a real sense of tragedy and grief and shame. My suggestion is you can feel bad about this later on. This is a time to have a very serious conversation. And as you already know, there's a lot of sexual abuse out there in the community. So honestly, I wouldn't, if I had it, if it were me, What I would be recommending is focus your energies on what you can do in the future. Every parent goes through difficult times with their kids. Every parent feels bad about how they've raised their kids at some point or other. I'm a parent too, and I've experienced it myself. Okay, and then from there, the C stands for compassion, which means always prioritize your kid's best interest. Always have these conversations with an attitude of how can you go forward to build a better life for your kid. And when you're thinking about compassion, don't forget to have compassion for yourself. So there's a saying that you've probably heard if you're flying in an airplane, and if there's an emergency, remember to put your own oxygen mask on first, and then put the oxygen mask on your kid. So you got to take care of yourself as well as your kid. And anybody that's ever been a parent starts to learn this over time. The last letter, the E, stands for evocation. And what that means, again, is going into these conversations with an attitude of curiosity and really wanting to understand. And remember, no matter how bad things have been, you have everything you need in who you are to be able to manage these and to find some decent solutions for going forward. Having said that, I just want to come back to whether you're looking at FBI statistics or you're reading the headlines or you're talking to your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, your family, whoever, then the one thing that's clear is there's a lot of sexual abuse in our communities. That we know that. That's the bad news. The good news is you and your kids have more strengths than you could possibly know. As a professional, one thing I've learned after 30 plus years of doing this work is that everything you need to build a better life for yourself and for your kid already exists within you. You might just not know it yet, but you'll find it out over time. Thanks for listening. I'm David Prescott. I sincerely hope that this is helpful. Have a great day ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.